These days, a trip to the United States is no longer what it used to be. The slogan, "America First," is increasingly starting to sound like America alone. Even Canadians, the closest allies and neighbors across the border, are beginning to turn down travel. What once seemed natural and easy is now seen as a risk. And yet, more than 55 million people worldwide have gone through the exhausting process of applying for a US visa. They filled out paperwork, paid the fees, and waited for months just to get approval, all to enter the country legally. But now, it is this very group that finds itself under pressure. Trump once promised that his hardline policies would target only illegal migrants, criminals, and dangerous offenders. Reality, however, looks very different. Today, whether you are a student, a professional with a work visa, or just a tourist, there is always a chance that customs agents will stop you and start deportation proceedings. Fear is spreading through communities that until recently felt secure, believing they had followed every rule, and the timing could not be worse. The US is preparing to host two of the world's biggest events, the 2026 World Cup and the Olympics 2 years later. These were meant to be celebrations that would bring in millions of visitors and showcase the country to the world. Instead, they risk being overshadowed by mass deportations and visa crackdowns. So what sense does it make to push people away precisely when the nation needs them most? The American economy is already fragile. Analysts warn of a potential recession by late 2025 or early 2026, and their forecasts are based on real data. Immigration lies at the very center of this storm. From agriculture to medicine, from construction to hospitality, immigrants keep entire sectors running. More than half of all farm jobs in the US are filled by foreign workers. 1 in 6 doctors comes from abroad. Removing these people will not strengthen the country. It will take away a vital pillar of the economy. So let's look at what is actually happening. To begin with, let's be clear. The Trump administration no longer limits its checks to those who cross the border illegally. The net has been widened to include everyone who already holds a US visa. That is roughly 55 million people around the world. Workers, students, tourists, even green card holders. All of them are being re-screened. What does that look like in practice? Officials are combing through files, searching for any pretext to cancel a visa. It might be someone who overstayed by just a couple of weeks. It might be a minor traffic violation. Sometimes it is nothing more than a vague label like threat to public safety. And if a visa is revoked while a person is already in the US, deportation can follow immediately. And this is not a one-off campaign. Authorities are building what they call a system of continuous review. This means every visa holder now lives under constant surveillance. Phone calls, travel history, even social media activity can trigger a reassessment. If anything raises suspicion, no matter how small, a visa can be canceled instantly. People who once felt confident that they were fully compliant now live in permanent uncertainty. But the visa purge is only part of a bigger shift. From the start, Trump made it clear, ordinary migrants are not welcome. The only exception is the wealthy. The investor visa, often called the golden visa, allows foreigners to put more than $1 million into US projects in exchange for a green card. If you have money, the doors are open. But if you are a student, a worker, or a family hoping for stability, you face mounting costs, extra scrutiny, and the risk of removal. The price of immigration is rising rapidly, and one striking example is the introduction of visa bond requirements. Some applicants are now being told to put down as much as $15,000 just to receive a tourist visa. It works like a deposit, supposedly a guarantee that the person will not overstay. Imagine this. You want to attend a wedding, visit relatives, or take a vacation, but before you even buy a ticket, you are forced to hand over thousands of dollars to the US government. For many, this has become the new reality. And that is not all. Fees have gone up across the system. H-1B work visas for highly skilled professionals now cost more, with employers required to pay additional charges that hit small and mid-sized businesses the hardest. These were the very companies most eager to hire foreign talent, and now they are losing that chance. The message is clear. If you do not have capital, the doors are closing. This stands in sharp contrast to Trump's campaign promises. He said he would target only criminals and dangerous offenders. In practice, lawful visa holders, students, professionals, and families are also under fire. The impact is already visible. Since Trump's return to the White House, the State Department has been canceling more than twice as many visas as in comparable periods in previous years. Over 6,000 student visas have already been revoked, often for trivial reasons, a short overstay, or something like driving under the influence. These are not hardened criminals. They are young people who came to study and build a future. The scale is staggering. 55 million people are under scrutiny, and even if only a small fraction lose their status, it could mean millions being forced out of the country. This is not just about tightening immigration rules. It is about a deeper shift, redefining who is allowed to be in America and under what conditions. The wealthy can buy their way in. Everyone else must endure endless checks, higher fees, and the looming threat of deportation. What was once sold as a fight against illegal migration has turned into a sweeping purge, where even legal residents no longer feel safe. And this is only the beginning. Look at the timing. These harsh measures are being introduced just as the U.S. economy is slowing down. Economists across the spectrum warn that by the end of this year or early next year, the country could slip into recession. The danger is that two blows are landing at once: pressure from tariffs and contraction caused by immigration restrictions. Instead of preparing the economy for the shock, the administration is stripping it of resilience. To see why this matters, consider how deeply immigrant labor is woven into everyday American life. It is not just harvesting crops or cleaning hotels. Immigrants work in construction, healthcare, agriculture, trucking, food processing, services, and even IT. More than 70% of farm workers in the U.S. are foreigners. Without them, fields go unharvested and food prices soar. 1 in 6 healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, caregivers, came from abroad. Construction sites, already struggling with labor shortages, would grind to a halt without migrant crews. Restaurants and hotels, especially in tourist states, depend almost entirely on their work. This is not the periphery of the economy. It is its foundation. Cutting off this resource now is like draining fuel from an engine right before a storm. And when the storm hits, prices will rise as companies pay more for fewer workers and pass the costs on to consumers. Businesses unable to fill positions will scale back production or shut down entirely, especially under the weight of high tariff expenses. Food shortages will become a reality. Farms will fail to plant or harvest. Hospitals, already strained by an aging population, will suddenly be left without staff. The domino effect will touch everything: groceries, healthcare, and jobs. All of this is unfolding while America's global reputation is steadily eroding. Trade wars, tariff disputes, and public insults toward allies have already undermined trust in the United States. Now, immigration policy sends an additional signal. The country is closed and unwelcoming. For investors and skilled professionals who only recently viewed America as an attractive destination for money or careers, this perception alone is enough to turn them away. Why bring capital and expertise into a place that treats you with suspicion? And major world events are just around the corner. The World Cup in 2026 and the Olympics in 2028 were meant to be opportunities for America to showcase itself to the world, hosting millions of athletes, tourists, journalists, and investors. Instead, the atmosphere is increasingly hostile. If people are harassed over visas, humiliated at borders, or turned away at airports, many simply will not come. That would mean empty stadiums, vacant hotels, and billions in losses for airlines, restaurants, and retailers. What should have been a show of strength could instead go down in history as one of the country's most humiliating failures. And this is not speculation. The decline is already visible. International tourism to the U.S. has been falling ever since Trump returned to the White House. According to the U.S. Travel Association, the country could lose up to $29 billion in revenue. States that depend heavily on tourism, Florida, Nevada, California, New York, are experiencing the sharpest downturns. In Las Vegas, hotels and convention centers report a drop in foreign visitors. New York has seen hundreds of thousands fewer international tourists compared to pre-Trump years, costing the city billions. Even airlines like Delta and United admit on earnings calls that international demand is down because the U.S. is no longer perceived as welcoming, and the decline is only accelerating. Immigration and customs enforcement is not slowing down. In fact, it is expanding. New units are being deployed across different states, and authorities plan to hire another 10,000 agents. The crackdown is no longer confined to the border. Residential neighborhoods deep inside cities are under surveillance. Schools are reporting inspections. Workplaces face surprise raids, and even bus stations are being turned into checkpoints. Critics warn this marks the beginning of a system where ordinary Americans are pulled into a repressive machine they never agreed to. The line between civil service and immigration policing is blurring, and from a wider perspective, the picture becomes clearer. Trump's hardline immigration policy combined with his trade wars is creating conditions that make a recession increasingly likely. At the very moment when the US should be projecting openness and stability to reassure markets, workers, and allies, the country is sending the opposite signal: distrust, hostility, and unpredictability. And the central question is simple. If the goal is not to protect jobs and not to strengthen America's role in the world, then what is the real objective? In the meantime, subscribe to the channel to follow these developments. See you in the next video.